President, order. I'd like my colleagues to pay attention. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, once again, my name is Ben Murray Bruce, representing Bayelsa East. As you know, I have intellectual bills, not bills to build schools in the village. All right, pay attention. I am honored to present the lead debate for a bill to allow persons of African origin, pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, to acquire Nigerian citizenship for purposes of reintegration and development. The bill is called the Right of Return, 2019. It's a proposed piece of legislation that grants persons of African origin Nigerian citizenship. This bill was first read on the floor of the hallowed chambers on the 10th of April 2019. Why Right of Return bill? First, it is important to note that under international law, each country has the right to decide for itself to whom it will give citizenship. No nation has developed from an undeveloped nation to a developed nation by relying solely on the know-how of its own people. 40% of Fortune 500 companies were either founded by immigrants or their children. Yahoo was founded by a Taiwanese. eBay was founded by a Frenchman. And Pfizer was founded by a German. Independence is a gimmick. No nation is really independent. If you think America is independent, then ask all the Nigerian medical personnel working there to come home and our health sector will collapse. Ask all Mexican temporary workers to return to Mexico, and California and Texas will go bankrupt. Nigeria suffered from a brain drain in the early 80s to the late 90s. And even now, there's still a measure of brain drain. Long before then, Africa's greatest resources, its human resource, was pillaged through the Trans-Sahara and transatlantic slave trade. Legislation like Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation ended the slave trade. We must also legislate to recover from its effects. Nations do not develop because of what they have under their ground. Their development comes from what is between their ears of their citizens. Nigeria needs to reverse the brain drain, and we must attract foreign direct investment. Right now, we are experiencing capital flight, but if we allow wealthy and middle-income Americans, African Europeans, and other African diaspora people get domicile in Nigeria, they will bring the human and material resources we need to fast-track our development as a nation. Currently, our own diaspora remits $21 billion back home annually. This is the single largest source of foreign income Nigeria presently has. It is more than the shrinking income from oil. It is more than the foreign aid we get. It is even more than the World Bank or the IMF are prepared to lend us. With this right of return bill, we can triple this amount by opening up our nation to desirable immigrants. Israel today is the most technologically advanced and economically stable nation outside Europe and America. How did they achieve this? The answer is that they passed a law of return on the 5th of July 1950 that gave Jews the right to return to live in Israel and to gain Israeli citizenship no matter what the original country of citizenship is. In 1970, they extended that right to persons married to any Jew. More than any piece of legislation, this law can be credited with having helped speed up the development of the state of Israel. Distinguished colleagues, I wish to re-emphasize that independence is unreliable as an economic model to take a nation to greatness. Nations that want to be great must move from independence to interdependence, and the way to do it is by opening up their borders to the specific group of people that will help grow their economy. It is for this reason that I have proposed the Right of Return bill to allow persons of African heritage in the diaspora who have requisite education and sufficient finances become Nigerian citizens. And if they have not gotten the citizenship of any other African nation, and if they have no criminal record. I therefore ask for your support for this bill, which among other things are for the purpose of reintegration and speedy development. Thank you.
That is good, but with this Boko Haram that was...
Distinguished colleagues, let me first of all thank distinguished Senator Muri Ben Bruce for a very brilliant approach in sympathy with the situation in Nigeria to attract Africans who he believes should be given the citizenship of Nigeria. Sir, let me say that if you have read the constitutional debate on the 1999 Constitution, no chapter has received the kind of inputs that the issue of citizenship has received. I think it's about 2 volumes, if you have read carefully. And if you look at it, what distinguished Senator Muri Bruce is trying to do is perfectly covered under Section 25, 26, 27, and 28 of the 1999 Constitution. The combined effect, sir, the combined effect of this provision gave citizenship by birth under Section 25, gave citizenship by registration under Section 26. Under Section 27, it gave citizenship by naturalization. And then it prescribed in the 7th schedule what it is. And in the answer, it gave power to the president to make regulation which shall be laid before the National Assembly as it relates to taking citizens of other nations as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's so exhaustive, sir. So what he is seeking to do is adequately provided. What I think is missing in that his bill is that we cannot by law or by altering the provision of the Constitution. I think that is the most important word used there. Coerce people to be citizens of Nigeria. First of all, you must apply. You must signify your intention to remain in Nigeria. You must have good character. And so many prescriptions have been made. And once these are made and reached, the president has the discretion to grant that citizenship, sir. So I think it may amount to an unnecessary reminder of truth if we embark on another alteration to attempt to bring within the purview of our Constitution what our makers of the Constitution do not foresee. Again, respectfully, sir, beautiful as the argument of distinguished Senator Muri Ben Bruce is in respect of this bill, it might be advisable and convenient to at this stage advise that a careful reading and interpretation of the provision of the Constitution, and in this effect specifically, Section 25, 26, 27, and 28, is sufficient to cover the necessary intendment contained in his alteration. And I'm of the view that it may not necessarily be in the interest of Parliament to waste this precious time as we're approaching the end of 8th Parliament to begin to consider what, in my opinion, with the greatest respect, amounts to unnecessary reminder of truth. Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. President, I want to start by saying that I think Senator Nala is not completely digesting the bill as presented by Senator Muri Ben Bruce. I don't think from the presentation by Senator Ben Bruce, he is challenging those provisions as read by Senator Nala. But what he is telling the Nigerian Senate is to open it up, meaning the stringent conditions and conditionalities already embedded in the Constitution be lifted or softened to get other Africans to become Nigerians. Mr. President, my colleagues, with maximum and profound respect to the highly intellectually sagacious Ben Murray Bruce, this bill is not only utopian, but it is catastrophic. Catastrophic in the sense, as I speak to you, my dear colleagues, Nigeria is near 200 billion people. 200 million people, sorry. 200 million people. And our current growth rate is 2%. It's over 2%. And as at this alarming growth rate, as I speak, we are incapacitated and not capable of funding subsidy. We are operating our budget on credit. We are passing another budget now, and we are going to build that budget on borrowing. You now want us to open our borders and nationality and citizenship and allow Africans to come freely, open up, and maybe in the next 5 or 6 years, we have a population of 500 million. If that happens, Mr. President, Murray Ben Bruce, a successful businessman, in the next 10 years, will be a corporate and executive beggar on the street of Lagos. We must, as a Senate, begin to look at what we can do to check our present growth rate, to have relationship and correspondence with our economic, social, and infrastructural development. In XYZ, my brotherly advice to a very patriotic Nigerian, to a Nigerian that have no identity issue, Murray Ben Bruce, is to respectfully, humbly repeat what he did with the former bill so that we can make progress. Thank you.
To wholeheartedly align myself with the two previous speakers on this bill that is being sponsored by a friend and a colleague, Senator Ben Bruce. The question I would have asked is based on the subject that has to do to the amendments of the 1999 Constitution. So if we can recall, with the antecedents that we have as a nation, the issue of insecurity in our nation, because Nigeria is virtually surrounded by about 4 or 5 nations, mostly the Cameroon, Chad Republic, Niger Republic, Benin Republic, and to a large extent, and we've seen the influx of people, goods, and services to this country. And with the issues that we have in hand, I think the Constitution has totally taken care of that. But I was expecting if Ben Bruce would have asked for the amendment on what clauses of the Constitution, that probably would have given us the leeway to see what we can do. But I think it's pertinent with the feelings of the Senate if Senator Ben Bruce can retract the bill and probably make some certain amendment on that bill. So I think it's better if we can now take out the bill from it. Thank you.
Distinguished contribution at this point.
The bill is misunderstood. I said African descent. I did not say everybody in Africa will become a Nigerian. That's not what I said. I did not say 10 million people will become Nigerians overnight. That was not what I said. we will choose who we want to give a Nigerian passport. The smartest, the brightest, and people, they have a green card lottery to America today. When you become an American citizen through the lottery, they don't choose beggars on the street, they don't choose Boko Haram, they choose the brightest people in the world to become American citizens to grow their economy. So we will choose the brightest in the world to become Nigerian citizens. So that is all I'm saying. I mean, Senator Nala talked about the Constitution, but if every time you want to become a Nigerian citizen, you have to go to the president to approve your citizenship, then we're not going to make any progress. All of our greatest athletes live abroad. All of our greatest doctors live abroad. We want to bring them back to Nigeria. So respectfully, I will not withdraw it. I can be defeated, that's fine. But I'm not going to withdraw it. Thank you, sir.
Please believe the bread second and say aye. Just again say nay. The nays have it. Leader of the Senate.